Thanks. You can have a seat. We are so glad that you're here this morning. My name is Andrea Smith. I have the privilege of being the pastor here, and we're glad that you took some time out of the busyness and craziness of life to come here and worship with us this morning. We are in the middle of our message series called Peace, Love, and Rich, recognizing that our lives are already so rich, so it's like what we do with our richness and our relationships and all that kind of stuff. So we're really glad that you're here. We have very intentional missional projects that have been going on throughout this month. If you've already participated in one, we're really grateful. After worship last week, we packed kindness closet boxes, and then they were delivered on Monday. And then today, we are going to be raking leaves this afternoon at Path House in Statesville. That's a place that offers like a place for laundry to be done, internet connections, and a warm meal for those who are homeless in the Statesville area. So we're really excited about that. And if you want to go rake leaves with me after worship, I would love to have you join me at the Path House. The more of us that show up there, the less time we will spend raking leaves. And I happen to have an extra rake and leaf blower in my car. So there are options for you that are available. But seriously, like, it's been such a really cool month to see so many different facets of West. And like Tuesday night, they gathered at the West office to make planter boxes for the Humane Society. And they are going to grow their own herbs for their exotic animals. And so that was a way that we as a church can support the Humane Society. So many really cool things. Thank you for making them happen. If you are new to the West community, we're really glad that you chose us. There's lots of other places in this area and digitally that would welcome you and appreciate you as well, but you chose here, so thanks. If you stopped at our VIP tent out front, great. If you didn't, we understand, and it's a no pressure kind of thing. If you do want to know more about us, hear from one of the staff, you can text the number that you see on the screen or visit the tent out front. Either way, we're just grateful that you have chosen to be here today. Today is my least favorite Sunday of the year and also my most favorite Sunday of the year. It is our State of the Church. Think about like the State of the Union for the United States, and that happens once a year. That's what today is. We're going to be sharing with you the exciting part. The favorite part is all of the ministries that we have here as a church and as a community. My least favorite part is it involves statistics, and it also involves finances. That's the end of the part, but they're a part of who we are as a congregation. If you're United Methodist, if you've been a United Methodist for years, today is what we would call a charge conference. We do hours in this format, and then the PAC team meets briefly following worship to sign off on our apportionments and all the other required paperwork from the conference. But so much of today is a celebration, and it's a celebration because you choose West to be your faith community home, and we're really grateful that you're here. We hope you leave today feeling inspired and grateful that we get to work together to make a positive difference in our community and in our world. Thanks for being here.
We are rich. If you are watching this video, you are most likely to be in the top 1% of wealth in our entire world. We are rich beyond measure. Over the next 3 weeks, we will explore what it truly means to be rich, how to be rich, and how to live our lives in such a way that we might experience this richness every day.
So I want to welcome those of you who are worshiping with us online this morning. Over the past 2 weeks, we've realized even more so than ever how important our online community is. These are really cool stories that are a part of our State of the Church. One of them was last Sunday, and as we were standing outside in the Commons area after worship, if you're newer to West, I really do try, unless you run from me, and I understand that, like sometimes you don't want to be stalked by the preacher after church, and that is completely okay. We truly try to be non-threatening in how we offer Christ to the world. But if you're loitering at all, just tiny seconds in the commons area and we have the opportunity to be out there together, you are my priority because you're really important to us. If you have chosen to come to West for something, instead of going to another church, we want you to know that it matters. And we do a great job greeting here, but we could always do better. And lots of us are introverts, and so walking up to someone we don't know is not something that we necessarily enjoy. So the staff and I and our greeting team, we try to be really intentional about greeting new people. And so last week I had the privilege of going up to this gentleman and his young daughter, and he shared with me that they are from Winston-Salem. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And he's like, well, we've actually been worshiping with West for a while on podcast. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that we do that. What happens is Blaze, who is a part of our Uganda campus in Uganda, after the video feed gets taken from today, it gets sent to Blaze. Blaze downloads it in Uganda in real time, then puts it up on our website, and then he converts it to a podcast, and then the world has the message. And, we just sort of put it out there, and then we're not really intentional about it. And this gentleman shared that he worships with us on podcast, so a huge shout out to you. It was so nice to meet you last week, and he said, my family and we've decided that even though we're in Winston and you are in Mooresville and Lake Norman, that twice a month we're going to make it a point to come. We want this to be our church because we believe in the mission and the vision of the church. And that was just a huge shout out to who you are for the ways that you make church relevant to this world, and you live into what we say we are going to do and what we are going to be. So to start off with the message this morning, I wanted to share with you two scripture verses that have defined us from the very beginning. We started as a campus of Williamson's Chapel 13 years ago. 2 years in, the conference and staff of Williamson's Chapel and leadership decided that we needed to be a chartered church. And so we met with the bishop and the district superintendent and congregational development, and we became a charter church. And so since then, it's just been this enormous roller coaster ride that has just been amazing and such a blessing to all of the folks that are a part of West and our community and our world. So we are so grateful for you for making that possible. But there are a few things that define who we are, and so I wanted to share with you these two verses. The first is from Joshua, and it was right before he was going into battle, and he felt like he was just going to get slayed, and that there was no way that he was going to have the stamina or the ability to persevere and achieve the goals that he had for himself and the Israelite people. And so God says to him, "Have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Be strong and be courageous, and do not be afraid, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." We believe that that applies to us as a church. We believe that it applies to us as human beings. One of the coolest opportunities in being the pastor here is that we talk about God in a very, in some worlds it would be called progressive way. We talk about mindfulness. We have a yoga church. We are focused on the fact that we can all feel at one with God. God's not some outside being so far away from us. God abides in each of us, and we talk about science and the way that we can connect with God through our consciousness and those kinds of things. And so this verse is so important because we can all endure whatever things are in front of us or before us by relying on tapping into that power of God that abides in all of us. So be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you. That is one of our foundational verses, and the other is from Micah, one of the prophets to the Hebrew people. He has told you, he being God, human one, what is good and what God requires of you. And here it is: to do justice, to embrace faithful love, and to walk humbly with your God. To do justice, to embrace faithful love, and to walk humbly with your God. It is with humility that I share this information with you today. I said it's my least favorite Sunday. You know, statistics are not my thing, and finances, I don't like them. I can do them. I've at least stopped saying I can't do them. I can do them. I know how to read now a profit loss statement, and every month it comes out, my stomach hurts, and I don't want to open the email just because it is not fun. I do not find anything fun in doing profit and loss statements. In my temperament, my personality, I love things that are fun. And so I like even less talking about it on a Sunday morning. At West, we don't beat you over the head about money. We don't pass the offering plates or baskets or whatever. The only time every year that we actually put something in front of you going down a row is on Christmas Eve, and that's because we give all of it away. We do not keep it for ourselves. Over the years, we've had conversations and temptation around, well, our money's tight, our checking account's low in December, and what if we just kept our Christmas Eve offering? And the answer to that is always no, because on Christmas Eve we celebrate that we have been given the most amazing gift ever, the gift that changed the world. And even people that don't want to be a Christian or don't want to be a part of a religion, odds are there's some way, some facet of their life that they have at least heard about Christianity or church. And look, we need to give back. And so that compromises our whole DNA if we keep our offering on Christmas Eve. So all that to be said, this is the one time, if today makes you uncomfortable, I'm sorry, but money is a part of this. We are a church, but we're also a business, and so you need to know how all those things add up and where your money goes and all that kind of stuff. But before we get to that part, we want to start with some celebrations this morning. So I want to show you the first slide. So spiritual formation is a big part of who we are. And we are learning that what you are looking for in spiritual formation in the year 2023 is very different. We were so cutting edge when we launched, 13 years ago. We had small groups. We did not have Sunday school, and we didn't have youth group as it were, as a Bible study. We started small groups. But we are learning in the year 2023 that what you are looking for in spiritual formation is even different than what we've been offering. So this is a celebration. It's also one of our growing edges. One of the things that we want to work on as your staff and as your leaders over the next year is, how do you want to develop your spiritual life more intentionally? One of the things that we've noticed is that coming to a group on a particular night and time consistently, week after week, that seems like a lot right now. What we keep hearing from you is that you are overwhelmed with life and your schedules. If you have kids, they're insane. You have to get up at some unheavenly amount of time, an hour on the morning, to get your stuff done, and then by the time you get home and you've done the sports and all that kind of stuff, you don't have more time to give. So one of the things we hope that over the next year our leadership and our vision team and you will help us do is figure out, so as a faith community, what can we offer you that is going to help you deepen your faith, that's going to be real, relevant, non-threatening, but also help you grow in your love of Jesus Christ. And so that's one of the things that we are debating. We have 5 small groups that are ongoing right now: a Spring Within Us, a Richard Rohr small group, a College Motivation small group that's geared towards college kids, a women's small group that meets weekly, and a Fresh Expressions leaders group that gets together and learns how to lead, and then the Silers small group. So this is one of our areas where we want to do more and be more, but we've got to figure out what it is that you are looking for. In January, we are going to start a small group either right before worship or right after, whatever you are interested in, and we are just going to do one book of the Bible, and nobody's going to be teaching it. It's going to be a reflective small group. So the invitation will be to read the chapter before, or you will listen to it audibly, probably on an audible recording in that room, and just meditate on that one chapter that day, and then talk about it. Talk about what in that speaks to you. It will be a safe place to wrestle with some of the things that we read. When we did our Deconstructing Religion series back a few weeks ago, you shared that there are things in Scripture that just don't make any sense to you. And lots of times those are big hurdles and deterrents for being a part of a church or a religious community. And so we want to allow a safe space to really talk about those things and dive into them. So that is a small group that we are starting in January that we're excited about. But any of the things that I talk about with you this morning, I invite you, if you have ideas, if you have any brainstorming things that come to you, text them to Dawn or Elaine or myself or anyone in leadership, and you're going to meet those folks in just a few minutes. But let us know what you're looking for. It is our job to provide for you the pathways that you are seeking. We also recognize that one faith community cannot be all things to all people. So we will take your ideas, see if they align with our mission and vision. If they do, we'll make it happen. And if they don't, we will help you find a best pathway for you. But these are our small groups, and we're really grateful for the leaders of those and grateful that we are intentional about our spiritual formation. We do daily meditations that go along with different message series. This one, not so much, because there was a wedding of my daughter and just life got in the way. But like with the Deconstructing Religion series, we did a daily meditation every weekday, and around 200 people read those every single day. So that was something that we're taking into consideration. That seems to be a way that people are staying connected to the church through the week. We are going to turn those meditations into a podcast. That's our other goal for 2024. So we are excited about that. The next area that I'd like to share with you is about our fresh expressions. 13 years ago when we started, we sat in the shadow of very vibrant and alive churches. Rocky Mount is right down the road. Williamson's Chapel was our mother church. We sit in the shadow of the steeple of Williamson's Chapel. The Cove is right down the road. Mecklenburg Community Church is right down the road. There are so many vibrant, alive churches that are close to us and where we are. When we started, our whole purpose was to exist for a group of people that would not feel normally welcomed in a very traditional or a structured church setting. So that's been a part of our DNA from the very beginning. Well, guess what? Life and society, it changes so fast that over the last 13 years, we have always been intentional about thinking about how we can reinvent ourselves so that we are reaching the people where they are. I mean, we love it when you are in the community and you choose West and you come to this place, but we also recognize that, Jesus went where the people were. He did not just stay in one stationary place and expect the people to come to him. So there's this thing, it's called Fresh Expressions. It is a new way of doing church, and Dawn oversees these. She's the visionary for these. She does an amazing job, and you're going to meet her in just a few minutes, but she does an amazing job of always thinking about what is next. In fact, just this week, she had an idea about how we could continue to incorporate soul creations with our missional partners, not just our Uganda campus, but all of the missional partners that we have. She had a brilliant idea, and so she is constantly visioning and thinking about how we can continue to be the church in relevant ways in our community. But here are some of the fresh expressions that we have, and you are invited to be a part of these online, in person. We have Alive After 65. It used to be 55, and I think we decided to move it on up to 65 because we're not really retired at 55 anymore. We wish we were, but we're not. So it's Alive After 65. It's a group that gets together multiple times a month, and they have fellowship with one another. They have community. They are one another's support systems. And it's not just people from West. That's the beautiful thing about Fresh Expressions. It's not just church people. It's community people. And it's a way to show the community, hey, there's something different about being a Christ follower, but we can exist all in this safe space, and let us just show you what it means to be a people of love. So we have an Alive After 65 group that is vibrant and going. In fact, they're having a Friendsgiving on Tuesday and have invited us, so we're really excited about that. Then every other Sunday, we have Crafted Conversations. That is around a glass of wine or a beer at On Tap in downtown Mooresville, one of our business partners, and they talk about relevant spiritual topics. Sometimes it's what, or a lot of times it's what the message was about. They'll get some key points from the message, but sometimes it's just where the organic conversation happens with our leaders there. And the really other powerful thing is all of these Fresh Expressions, they are led by volunteers. Like, they have staff support, but Crafted Conversations, volunteers make that happen every single time. And so thank you for giving of your time and your passion for God to make this happen. Also, we have a golf group. This is if I played golf, I'd want to be a part of the golf group. But every week in the golf season, they gather together at the Mooresville golf course and they play golf. They set up tee times, and it's such a powerful way of building community, and it's a way to share, again, God's love in real, relevant, and non-threatening ways. We have yoga every week. Dawn has a yoga vision team, and they take turns leading yoga at the YMCA. This is another powerful, fresh expression that we have. And what we've noticed is over the years, this is probably our longest running fresh expression other than Crafted Conversations, is that some of the yoga folks have become a part of the Sunday morning or online West worshiping community, and we're so grateful for that as well. And then we have Taste Buds. And I will confess that I have absolutely right now in this moment no idea what Taste Buds is. Oh, yes, I do. It is the one that gathers at Marinos and Barcelona, and they once a month have community and have a meal, and it's open to all folks. They communicate it about on social media. People come, and it's a non-threatening way to celebrate community, build new relationships, and have great food in the process. The next slide that I'd like to talk to you about are our student ministries. I shared with you that our State of the Union happens every year, and 2 years ago, in this very same time and space, it's always in November, I had to stand up here. We had just reopened from the pandemic, and we reopened to realize that we really did not have a student ministry anymore. Like, we had maybe one family with children, and all the other kids had either aged out over the pandemic, and we had not, of course, attracted any new families. We were closed for a year and a half because we had to go according to the school system when they would allow us to reopen. And so we started back with nothing, which is pretty much how we began as a church. You know, we had a launch team, but like financially, we began with nothing, and we were afraid. A church with no children is a dead church. And there is only so long that you can stay open and viable if you have no children. The irony is that at that time, we had a staff member that was hoping to transition out of that role. And we had someone that the PAC team, that's the Pastor's Advisory Council, they saw someone with clear gifts in student ministry. And I needed to recuse myself from that situation because I happened to be her mother. She is an exceptional minister of students and youth. And so and she's not here and has no idea we're talking about her right now because she's on her honeymoon. But she has rebuilt our student ministries. Right now in Amped, we have 51 children. We got 8 more or 9 more from the Halloween event that you made happen a few weeks ago. And what Amped is it's basically a TV show for children that is about character development. On Sunday mornings, we also have Amped here. And when we have it here, it is Jesus focused. We teach Jesus, we teach the stories of faith and how children can interpret those not literally, but learn from the stories of faith. But then Amped Online, what we have found is there are so many people in our community that are willing to be spiritual but not religious. And we believe that if we will offer spirituality to them in a non-threatening way, that at some point we trust the Holy Spirit and the work of the Holy Spirit to start nudging them in their lives so that they can see there's more to spirituality than just some unknown, that there's this thing called Jesus Christ, and that we can introduce them to the person of Jesus, and they can fall in love with Jesus. But the open door, the first step to that is our Amped Online Children's Ministry. Subscription boxes are a thing in our society. People like subscription boxes. So every single month, and you help pack these actually, we have a subscription box that gets sent to every single child. You also deliver those subscription boxes to these children. And that, I'll talk about that at the end as well, but like that is one way that if you don't have financial resources that you can contribute to West, that is your gift of time. We turn your time into money. It costs like $10 or $12 to mail some of these subscription boxes. So when people can say, hey, I'll go deliver that route, it saves the church. I mean, $500, $600 every month. Think about that. That's almost $10,000 a year that we save by people delivering the subscription boxes. But in those boxes are things that then they go and they watch a YouTube episode that is filmed by Lane and children that are in the Amped ministry. They have a cooking segment, they have a craft segment, sometimes they have a game, and they have a character development segment. And so that ministry is 51 kids strong. We're so proud of that. And then we have 20 Amped kids that come, not all at the same time on a Sunday morning. We would love it if they did, but 20 kids that are a part of Amped on Sunday morning. At our Halloween Easter event, we had 550 kids. Oh, yeah, clap for that. That's a huge thing. As Lane and I were getting our hair and makeup done last weekend for her wedding, the lady shared with me, she's like, I came to your church. I'm like, oh, really? And she said, yeah, I came to your Halloween event. She said, we're not really up on churches, but because yours was on a Sunday morning, and we figured if you were doing that instead of having church, that it would be a safe place to go to, and you wouldn't be cramming religion down our throats, we wanted to give it a try. And I'm like, oh, cool, the mission and the vision of why we have it on a Sunday morning, it worked. And so, I'm not sure that her theology and her understanding of Scripture, she's more of a literal nature of understanding Scripture than we are. So West is probably not going to long-term be a church for her. But guess how we rebuilt our Amped ministry from the pandemic? It was through our Halloween and Easter events. So thank you for making those happen. Thank you for buying the candy and the supplies and the crafts. Every little thing that you do, it goes to make this beautiful, beautiful picture of what we call church. And then at Easter, we had 380 kids come and celebrate Easter with us on a Sunday morning. It's like a trunk or treat Easter style. You get Easter eggs out of people's trunks. It's very unconventional, but we needed to find a way to not offer an egg hunt, because the last time we did that, there were over 4,000 people here, and there was a mad rush on the field and unsafe. And we said we would never, ever do that again, and we won't, because it was insane. Yeah, you're clapping because that was a nightmare. Yes, it was horrific. So we have for years called it the event that we will never speak of again. It's like Voldemort of ministries. It was just awful. So we have tried to find another way to offer Easter love to our community. The next thing I want to share with you about is our other student ministry Ministries, we average now 2 to 5 kids in our nursery on Sunday morning. Do you know how long we had no kids in our nursery? When West started 13 years ago, our student ministry was the strongest thing of West, and it was run by all volunteers. So huge shout out to y'all who are still a part of West. The 2 women that started our student ministry, or 3 women actually, are still hanging in here. So we're so grateful that you have called West your home for 13 years. But we had so many kids, and then, like I shared, it went down to nothing. And in that, we had some really honest and real conversations, like, is in the Methodist Church, they move preachers around. We talked about, am I still a viable pastor for this community? Like, what do we need to do to rebirth our children's ministry? And here we are 2 years later. We have 2 to 5 kids in our nursery. We're hiring nursery workers again, which feels good. And we have youth that are 14 kids strong, and they now have a youth leadership team. We believe that ministries are best led by the people that are in them, not other people. And so Lane is developing in real time a youth leadership team that will continue to give our youth ministry focus and figure out how to offer youth ministry in a time when it's crazy busy and all those things. So we are very excited about that. Our next slide that I'd like to share with you are our ongoing ministry teams. Now, I'm going to end with talking about money just because that's like the last thing. But one of the things that I want to share with you is, we are going to make an ask for money, and we're not going to pass out a pledge card or anything like that. But we are going to show you our budget needs, the difference between the budget and the needs, how many giving units we have, all that stuff. But look, not everybody is in a place where they can give more financially. In fact, like I asked the staff and our pastor's advisory council, because I believe we don't ask you to do anything that we are not willing to do ourselves. I mean that for me as well. So when we knew that we needed to ask the people, like, to be intentional about, looking at what you give to West financially, one of the things that these folks that are on the pastor's advisory council, who are already tithing and giving so sacrificially, they're like, look, I already give this amount or whatever, but I can give you my time. And that's what I want to say at the beginning. Like, if you will serve on a ministry team, we can turn your time into money. One of our charter members came to me a few months ago and said, look, I just don't have any resources financially right now. I'm taking early retirement, etc., but I can give you my time. And now she and another volunteer did this all year long. Like, they show up every single week, and they give us 4 to 5 to 6 hours of their time. And we have started a thing called Soul Creations out of that. And I'll speak to that a little more later. But, like, we can turn your time into money. If you help us set up and tear down on Sunday mornings, that's less money that we have to pay our volunteers, or we have some youth that are willing to serve for a very nominal fee so they can earn some extra money, build their resume. But the more people we have doing that, the more we can offer on Sunday morning by setting up and tearing down. Also, like our greeting team, people decide within the first 3 minutes of stepping onto our parking lot and our property here whether or not they're going to come back or not. And they don't listen to the message. I don't know if that's good or bad, but like, they decide based on the energy and the atmosphere. Several years ago, my boss made a surprise visit, and it was in a time that we were having just some transitions between some of our ministries. And he's like, I need you to know, no one spoke to me. And he said, other than Brad Rano from the sound booth, and honestly, like, I love you, I love the ministry that y'all are doing, but I wouldn't come back. That was a leveling, constructive criticism to hear from one's boss. And so we revamped our greeting ministry, and now, I believe we're doing an amazing job. Dawn leads that team as well, and you are warmly greeted. But we need people to help do that. Like, there's some Sundays that it's just ironic and folks can't be here. So would you be willing to consider serving on our greeting team? Or like this Peace, Love, Rich series that we're doing that is our missional focus for this month, and 11 different missions that we are supporting, and all these mission projects that we're doing throughout the month in the community. That didn't just fall out of the sky. There's a team of people led by Dawn and Beth Packman and Tammy Seiler that make that happen. They offer you these opportunities to use your time and your resources to make the world a better place, because that's what Jesus said. That's what the prophets of the Old Testament, of the ancient Hebrew scriptures said, that you walk and you seek justice, and you walk humbly and you love faithfully your God. The way that we are a missional church, it's why we don't own a building. We pay so nominally to use this space. And we have a warehouse that, that's where we put our rent money. But look, $2,000 is a heck of a lot cheaper than a mortgage payment for a $5 to $6 million building, and that is what it would cost for us to build and upfit a place to have what we have here. And that's silly use of resources when there are so many properties that sit open on Sunday morning. And so that's why we do what we do as far as our space. The other thing is, I lost my train of thought, sorry. The serving ministry teams, the college student care packages. I was talking about missions. Sorry. We have this amazing missions team that defines our DNA, but it takes people to make that happen. Like when you go to the grocery store, if you buy groceries for yourself, we invite you to buy 1 or 2 cans. For our backpack mission, that is led by a volunteer. I am sure that she would love to have additional volunteers help her. These ministry teams are so important, and we need you to be a part of them. There's a yoga vision team so that they can cast vision for what needs to happen with that ministry. And then there is a meaningful meals team. This is our newest ministry team that we are resurrecting. We used to do this when we first started, and it was such an important part of people's lives, and then we got away from doing it, and we had a volunteer step up and say, look, this is important to people. When they are hurting, when they've had surgery, when there's been a death in their family, we need to show them love and support. And one of the easiest ways we can do that is to have a ministry meals team. That does not mean either that you have to cook for them. In today's world, DoorDash and Uber Eats and all those things, they're real. So think about how cool it would be if your loved one has had surgery and you're bringing them home after being at the hospital with them, and you walk in and you don't have to worry about where your meal is going to come from, or if there's a death in your family. This team makes it happen. And the last thing is Soul Creations. We shared with you a little bit about that and the 2 volunteers over the past year that have just given countless hours to make this ministry happen. We'll show you some examples of that in just a second. But what we are going to do, because you're sitting there and you're listening to all this information, and I'm talking really fast so you get to go home before like 1 p.m. today, and you're like, so what do I do? Well, tomorrow we're going to send you an email, and it's going to have these things in it, and it's going to have which staff person. Just all you have to do is click on their name, email them, and then they will hook you up to their ministry. The other thing is, can you run a camera? Can you stand behind a video camera and press record? Like, that's an important part of what we do on Sunday morning. Or gracious volunteers that are back there right now, like making the slides. Dave builds our slides. You just have to press a button. Becky, it's way more complicated than that, but I want them to sign up to serve. And poor Becky, I'm like, today's the most complicated day to ever do this. And she's like, yeah. And but like, if you can just click an arrow to make the slides work in worship, that is a way of serving. All those things make West happen and make West real. And so now I want to show you the next slide. We are determined to be missional. And like I shared, sometimes when things are rough or there are hurdles in front of us, it's tempting to want to pull back from that. But that's not what Jesus did. We read that when Jesus was overwhelmed, he would go away to pray and regroup, and then he'd get right back in it. Over the years, some of our missions have come and gone, and we've celebrated those. And right now, here are some of the ones that we do. These are new this year. We have English as a second language. That is something that we began when an educator from ISS reached out to us and asked, she had heard about West and asked if we would be an intentional partnership. One of the things that we do not believe in is being a toxic charity. That's where you like get some money and you just go throw it at organizations and then walk away. The missions that we are a part of, they are about building relationships with the people that are in them. So like our backpack food mission, that has been reinvented over the years, and we do that in alignment with St. Therese Catholic Church. You know, imagine Methodists and Catholics working together every week to feed the hungry in our community. That's such a viable way that we can be Christ. And then there's the college student care packages. Those are not just things that we do for our kids. We ask our college students, hey, do you know someone in your college, in your residence hall, your dorm, whatever, your organizations that needs some extra love from a faith community? If so, please let us know. And then we adopt them, and they get 3 or 4 care packages a semester, and especially around the big times like moving in and exams, and they know that there is a church that loves them. Out of that has become the college student small group where they gather together to offer emotional support, and they use social media to do that. So that is a new thing. And then we have a Ding Dong Ditch. That is our Christmas angel tree. We do it as West, and we don't do angel tree because everybody else does angel tree and they don't need us to do angel tree. What Ding Dong Ditch is if you know of someone that is in need of some love this Christmas season. They could just be getting out of a divorce. They could just have fallen upon some uncomfortable financial times. They could just be sad and dealing with lots of life stuff, loss of job, so many different things. It is anonymous. You nominate them. Our leaders of that are the only people that ever know their names and their situation. And then we give you their angels, and you take them, you go buy them the Christmas things, and then we wrap them on the Sunday before Christmas. That's also like one of folks' favorite Sundays of the year. On December 17th, you'll gather in the commons area to wrap all those presents, and then they get dropped off. You ring the doorbell and you disappear. Sometimes they know that it comes from West Church, sometimes they don't. But over the last 13 years, we have seen, to use a business term, a return on an investment with that, in that people have fallen in love with God and been given new hope around a spiritual community because of the way that they were loved anonymously at Christmas and so generously. So thank you for doing that. We also have global missions. We have Acres of Hope, and we have our Uganda campus. They're two very different things. Acres of Hope is the organization, and Lance is leading a trip there this summer. If you want to go to Africa, we invite you to go on that trip. Pastor Jeffrey, I shared with us about last week in last week's message, like it started with nothing, just some land, and then we prayed, and people came with money, and they built pod houses. Now they have schools. They are accredited in the government. It is amazing, and it is giving orphans in Africa a new hope. Many of you sponsor children with Acres of Hope. That's another way that you can support it. We sponsor children as a church, and our Amped Children's Ministry sponsors a little girl who is no longer little because we've been sponsoring her, and now she's in secondary school. It's a way that you can show God's love on the other side of the world. And then we have our Uganda campus, which it's a mission for us in that we have to fund it and support it, but they are a campus. Just like we have worship here on Sunday morning, they have worship there on Saturday afternoons. People walk 5 to 10 miles. They range depending on who is there that Saturday. They walk 10 miles to come to church. Dero is the pastor of our campus. Blaze is the COO, the operations pastor, and they work together. And then Mweje does children's ministry. And they are sharing the message of God's love and God's hope, West style, on the other side of the world. It's been probably one of the most challenging things that we've done in a while. There are cultural barriers, there are communication barriers, there are misunderstandings and all that. And listen, the staff will tell you, like, I run a pretty tight ship. And so the Uganda gentlemen are learning that as well. If you are supposed to send in your weekly report on Monday morning, I expect your weekly report on Monday morning and not Tuesday. And don't write me and say, well, my dog ate my homework. It doesn't work. There are accountabilities because we financially support them and we believe in the mission and vision. And so even though it's been challenging, oh my gosh, like, could y'all pull up one of those pictures of the Uganda campus? I'd like to talk about that specifically. Mweje, Philip, Fareed, Blaze, and Dero ride a boda boda, which is a motorcycle that we got some grant monies last year, so we were able to provide that for them. They ride it like 20, 30 miles to go take West Church to this community. The reason being that some of the people that you see on the screen, or the screens in front of me, those folks walked an enormous amount of way to come to West Church. And then they stopped coming. And so Dero and Blaze and Philip and Fareed and Mweje, they went to them and they're like, where have you been? And they're like, it's too far and it's too hot. We can't walk 2 hours to come to church. So those gentlemen started taking church now every other Wednesday to the community. And you see behind me, you see a mud hut. That's where they live. So I want you to understand that you're supporting West Church here in Lake Norman, North Carolina, is also supporting West Church in Kagumba, Uganda. A church, a real church. And that's just such a cool thing. Now look, we don't have a lot of money. We started 10 years ago as a charter church with a bank account that had very little in it. Thank goodness our charter members of the launch team, they held their tithe for 2 months, I believe, and put it in a checking account with the conference so that we would have enough those first weeks in January to start payroll. I mean, that was like 20 families holding their money for 2 months so we would be able to pay our bills when we opened. So I want you to understand that, like, when we started as a church, we did not start with a bank account of, several $100,000. It had several thousand. And then over the years, our United Methodist Conference has been so generous to us. They have given us grant after grant after grant. And they have always helped us do ministry. But we, like grant monies, they come to an end. And we've known that, so we've been working on this for years. And honestly, like, I can stand here today, even though this is when I'm like breaking out in a sweat. My chest is probably getting all splotchy because this is the part like I hate to talk about. But it is part of it, and transparency is key and is important. And I've always said I would just be honest with you. So here's the honesty. We have realized that we needed to find a way to fund ministry differently. That, you know what? You're pretty strapped financially as well. Most of us, if not all of us, are not sitting around on tens of thousands of dollars that we just wake up in the morning going, I wonder what I'll do with this $1,000 today. Like, we don't have those luxuries. And you give sacrificially to West. And so we're not going to beat you over the head and say, you better give more, better give more. So we sought ways to fund ministry in a different way. And we came up with this idea of soul creations. Now that has morphed over the last year and a half, and it has become a part of Level Up Together, which is a nonprofit that is attached to West, but very much a nonprofit. And so we have whittled it down to try to figure out like what it really needs to be. So the bottom line is we have personalization, we have a candle line, and we have jewelry. And you help make those things happen. You volunteer at night, you come make the jewelry, you make the candles. And just over the last 2 weeks alone, we have had 3 new business partners reach out to us and say, hey, can we carry your products? One is a spa located off of Langtree, and we have our products in 2 other businesses, and they just keep 10% commission, which is more than fair. But this spa, Dawn and Lane met her at the Sippin' Shop, and she said, I want to carry your products in my spa, and I want to do it for free because we believe in the mission and the vision. And so apparently the owner of Dirty Boys Detailing was at the spa, saw our candle line, and wanted to buy all of them. Dawn wrote me and said, what do we sell them all for? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I need to figure out the profit margin. And we can sell them for a discount, but we need them to have a profit margin. Else we're just giving away our time, and we need them to bring in revenue. We offered what we thought was a fair price. He bought them on the spot. I texted him later to tell him thank you. He's like, I'm interested in your products. What you see on the screen or on the screens is a cigar box candle. And no, it doesn't catch on fire. It's a legit candle, and it's in a cigar box, and it burns for like 20 or 30 hours. One of those cigar boxes, what the going rate on Etsy is, and that's where and how we price our items. We compare it to other items on the market. One of these things, when someone buys it, it pays for Mweje's gift that we give him to do children's ministry in Uganda for 2 weeks. One candle is 2 weeks of Mweje's gift. So, like, Dawn has worked so diligently to get the Shopify store up and running. And this is another one of those ways that, like, you can help. You can help us take pictures of the products. If anyone knows how to do Shopify or can learn how to do Shopify, I tried to help Dawn this week on Monday. I ruined the entire, and I'm not kidding. Like, it reverted back to something from like months ago. I'm like, Dawn, I think I've made a mistake. I was trying to help. We have decided that my way of helping is to not help. And that is absolutely serious. But like, we have this online store, and we worked really hard and intentionally to get it ready before Christmas, because guess what? These are Christmas gifts that will make a difference in someone's life, and it's so much more than lip service. It's true. So we'll send you out the link to our Shopify store and invite you to purchase products. Or if you know businesses that want to carry our stuff, like, all of that's welcome. And then, like, volunteers come in and help us make the stuff. That's what I meant when I said we can turn your time into money. So I'm getting ready to show you our numbers, and I know it's after 11, so I'm going to be very brief. And as I do this, I'm going to invite the staff and the PAC team, if you'll come up to the stage, so folks can meet you as I share these numbers. So as of today, we have 71 recurrent digital givers. What that means is that 71 families, not people, but 71 families that have logged into Planning Center or went to our website and clicked Give Online and have set up recurring giving. We have 14 people that give by check when you come, and we are grateful for you as well. We're grateful for all of these, so please don't hear any of this as better or worse than another. We have 7 that give spontaneously, like one time a year, make a donation to West. And our total giving units as a church are 82. Now, the next logical question is, well, how many people go to West? My answer to that is I have absolutely no idea. I've tried to figure it out. We have somewhere between 400 and 500 people that call West home. But we don't have members. We don't make you fill out paperwork. So it's always a moving target. But we have 82 giving units, and then this is what our projected income is next year. We have $315,000 from you, who are our recurrent in-person givers. We have 69, basically 70,000 from people that give sporadically. We have 30,000 from Level Up. We have 6,000 profit from Soul Creations. And we had an amazing golf tournament that brought in $6,000, but we don't like to count money that's not there, so we're hoping for $5,000. Now, our budget for next year, if we could go to that slide real fast with the pie charts. Our budget for next year comes in about $360. I'm going to send this slide out tomorrow so you can see it. But what you see is the blue. That is our people, like what it costs to make ministry happen. Then the operations like the rent, all those things. And then the yellow is the ministry. Now you can be like, oh my gosh, we spend that much, but this is a very normal church distribution. We're not different than any other churches in that. And then, like I said, tomorrow you get all these graphs. I know you're so excited and cannot wait to open your email in the morning, but it's going to show you, like, we spend this much on worship facilitation. We spend this much on our apportionment giving. That is our missional offering back to the conference. And frankly, we would not exist if it weren't for the conference. So that is an important line. And then on the last slide, you see the ministry detail and how we allocate our funds. So there is honestly about a $40,000 to $50,000 discrepancy between what we believe we can bring in and what our basic expenses are going to be. So here's the ask. I don't really know how many people there are, but if we know that there are 82 giving units, if of those 82 giving units, we would all take a step deeper in our giving and our faithfulness and our generosity and give $50 more a month, if all 82 did that, then we would make budget no problem. But then the other thing we've we've come up with the idea is that if we gave $75, then we could have this idea that happy days are here again, and we won't lay awake at night wondering if we are going to have money or not. For the last 2 years, at this time of the year, and last year I had to just be really honest, like our bank account got down to like $10,000. And we're like, oh my gosh. But that's what happens when you start with a bank account with not a lot of money in it. And we are a newer church. We have not had endowments or people that when they have moved from this realm to the life eternal, sometimes people use their estates and give churches money. You know, we're relatively new. Like, we haven't had that opportunity. But like this past year, one of our saints that went on to the life eternal, he and his wife, they gave so generously to West. Like, that is how last year we kept our doors open. And so I had to say to you last year, like, if something doesn't change, then we're not sure what's going to happen. That was the conversation I had to have with my boss. I'm like, look, like, we can't pay all of our apportionments. If we do, we're going to be in the red. Because of your generosity, but also really because the staff here and the unpaid volunteers that serve like staff make ministry happen. This year we have like $25,000 in our checking account. Like, we're not going to go bankrupt between now and December. Last year I really thought that we, well, not just would, but you all stepped up. The realization is that over the years, we've gotten $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 of grant money. And the grant money, we're not babies anymore, we're teenagers. And just like any life, when you have teenagers, you want them to grow up and sort of like move on. That's what we have to do. And we need you to be a part of that vision. The people that are up here behind me are either PAC team members, and I want Luann and Diana Hoover to come up here as well, because they are unpaid staff. They make things happen, so if y'all could scurry on up. We'll start over here. We have had 2 staff positions over the last 2 years that we did not replace. And so Dawn and Lane and these other folks up here behind me, Dave and Wayne, and I don't want to leave anybody out, Pam, like, they've given so much of their time and have never asked or complained. They just keep giving. And then the other folks up here are our PAC team members, and they have to keep me straight and sane. And that might be the hardest job. Like, I was weeping in the office this morning. Dawn's like, oh dear. And I'm like, yes, I have to rake leaves. I mean, it was a bad morning. I was a little stressed. Diana, will you come over here for just a second, you and Luann? They are going to do our pastoral care because when Lexi decided to answer her call to ministry, she was handling our pastoral care. And we have a significant amount of pastoral care needs. So I want you to introduce yourself, say what you do in full transparency because you also lead our worship stuff with Gary. And then if y'all just pass the microphone down, and then I'll grab it from Troy and send it over here.
Hello, I'm Luann, and I help with the worship team, and Diana and I are going to do pastoral care, and my favorite thing is I'm Dr. Lulu.
And I'm Diana Hoover, and I'm going to be working with Luann to try to provide good pastoral care and assist Andrea and the staff in doing that.
Hey, I am Lori Haas, and I'm on the PAC team, and part of my burning bush is definitely missions, so glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Pam Rossell, and I pay the bills.
My name is Dawn Lynch, and I'm the Connections Catalyst. I work with our missions team and our Fresh Expressions, and it's just such a joy to serve alongside all of you.
Morning, Troy Seiler. I have the opportunity to serve on the PAC team.
And he is the reason we have graphs, which is its own miracle within itself.
Hi, my name's Adam Lumley. I'm on the PAC team, and I think you see enough of me around here, so I'll move along.
Hey, I'm Emily Moeller, and I'm also on the PAC team.
My name is Wayne Morgan, and I do all things audio, along with Mike Leota in the back, and thank you.
I'm Dave Millsap, and I do all things video and photos and whatever Andrea asks me to do.
And usually Andrea asks him about 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. Like, he starts writing me on Wednesday, and then by Sunday at 9:50, he might have them or might not. You see a lot of me and you hear a lot of me, but these are the people that make it happen, and Mike Leota and all the other countless volunteers. Like, you're sitting out there, and I can't call you up here because, like, that'd be a lot of people on the stage, but you make it happen. This is the coolest church. Like, you have somebody from Winston-Salem that is willing to drive an hour twice a month because they can't find anything like this there. So will you please, and Pam's like, I pay the bills. Pam Roswell does so much more than pay the bills. She just doesn't talk about it. But they and you make this happen. So will you give them a huge thank you, and will you say yay to God? Because I want you to be able to go home before midnight. We will not do the last song. Is that okay? All right. But I want them to be up here to pray with me. And I'm going to do something I don't normally ask you to do. I want you to stand up and, like, if you could just make a circle around this space and grab hands with someone next to you. I'm going to ask you to touch each other. And if you're not comfortable doing that, do the elbow. Maybe that's a safer ask in COVID world. Do an elbow. They have to hold my hands because they know me. You will get an email tomorrow that has an outline of all this. We want you to see what our budget is, where we spend our money, you know, things like payroll taxes and all those sexy things that you can give to. But you do make it possible, and you make it worth it for lots of people in our community and in our world. Let us pray. Gracious God, you have called us to be your ministers. And each of us in this space and worshiping online, we have the privilege to serve you. May we do it together. May we do it with courage and absence of fear, so that we know that people will be able to fall in love with the Messiah that changed everything. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for supporting us for 13 years. Thank you for helping us be a viable church. And we are excited to see what happens and where it goes in the days ahead. Bless all the folks that call West their home. Bless all the folks in our world who need the light of you in their life. May we be that light for them. In Christ's name, amen. May you go in peace, and we'll see you next Sunday.